Halle Bailey isn't an innocent child. She is a grown woman and she is complicit in the outcome of her life. But that does not negate my empathy for her and similar individuals, nor does it make me complicit in enabling her further behavior. So, just to be clear, I've heard the critiques, I've sat with it, and, you know, I do believe that Halle Bailey made damning decisions, and there were so many different signs on so many different levels, and with all those things stacking up, I can see how calling her, innocent in this situation could be difficult. But here's the thing, I can recognize that and still hold space for someone's pain. I can believe that someone walked themselves into a dangerous situation and still believe they deserve protection while they're walking out of it. And in my personal opinion, that is not enabling, that's reality. Most of us don't wake up one day and say, I want to be in a situation like this. Things happen. And if you've been through something like this, you understand it. So all I want to say is I titled my video How to Fall from Grace with Grace, not as some type of reference or sub, but because I genuinely believe that when people make mistakes, they can survive them with dignity and softness. And if someone saw that and thought it was aimed at them, understand that this was rooted in empathy, not shade towards anyone else's opinion. And for me, at the end of the day, this was a very disturbing situation to process, and we're two different people that decided to do that differently. And it hurts me knowing that we're attacking each other kind of the same way, Ruby and Halle, like how they kind of had that little spat over something that some messed up guy did to some chick. Like, that's ridiculous to me. And I just don't stand for that. Morally, I just can't do it. And it's funny because at first I didn't even realize that the video was about me, but I realized that, you know, there was too many similarities and I really couldn't ignore it. And the part that hurt wasn't really being disagreed with. It was knowing that someone that I thought like respected me would choose to go public with something like this instead of personally coming to me or, check me and let me know, hey, I don't like what you said. Like, is that what you stand for? And I could have explained what I meant and gave my nuance. But, it's funny. This person usually believes that if you have beef with someone or disagree with them, you should mention their name. You shouldn't be vague about it. But they didn't this time. And that spoke a lot, you know. But at the end of the day, like, I don't expect an apology from this person. And I understand that this isn't about us having a different opinion. This is about me recentering the facts and the truth and the fact that there are women that do need support. And it's important to let different people have different ways of showing care without turning on one another. That's very important to me. So thank you for listening to this video. I'm going to try to explain everything. And if you're not aware of what's going on, I'm sorry I'm being so vague, but I'll try to explain everything in detail as much as I can without stepping on anyone's toes. And I want to be clear on something. I lead with empathy. That's the core of who I am. I understand the necessity of tough love, accountability, discipline when it comes to preventing certain situations. But prevention doesn't always work. Sometimes warnings get ignored, red flags get missed, and life happens. And people find themselves, in the aftermath of a situation or a choice that they made. And I think when they're in that place still in that moment, they don't need shame. They need someone to help them stand back up. And that's where I come in. And that's what I believe in. And my intention will never be enabling. That's a human reaction to seeing someone in pain. That's literally the definition of giving grace to someone. So now that you're caught up on that, I'm going to go ahead and start the video for you guys. Hello and welcome back to the channel. So today, this video isn't going to be the happiest video. So I just want to give you a fair warning now. There's been a situation here in these YouTube streets where, usually you guys, I've had bigger creators, say things that I don't really like, even smaller creators who I've called them out and I don't agree with some of their talking points. But this one kind of hit a little bit different. And I'm choosing not to say this person's name because I respect this person. and I genuinely care about them as much as I can for someone I don't know. And I can see that something that I did hurt this person, and I don't want that person to think that that was calculated in any way or shape or form. So I won't be saying this person's name, but I will be giving you guys a beat by beat, word for word analysis video on the comparing and contrasting about our opinion on the Halle Bailey and DDG topic, including Ruby Rose this time. I've done videos on Halle so many times. I did videos defending Ruby when no one else was doing that, slut shaming her for coming out and speaking about this man. Now, the disconnect is when Halle Bailey got with this man, there were people that didn't like him with her because of her image, not because of his. There was nothing bad about DDG at the time when she got with him. People just felt that she was above him. So in my last video, I said that when she saw this guy, she didn't see a Pookie and a Ray Ray. Now, clearly, if you can look back in hindsight, the flags were there. But just him as a person, he just seemed like any other dude. Like, he didn't seem like the most terrible person in the world. As we know now, he's a monster. But I could see how someone, especially an inexperienced person, regardless of their age, could overlook that. Now, something else that I wanted to point out is that I don't know when the news that he put hands on Ruby dropped. If I knew that, I would have mentioned that in my video months ago when I was defending Ruby Rose. In fact, I don't really know if this was like public knowledge or if people started believing what happened to her, so they put out the information once the same thing happened to Halle, because the bruises were identical on their arms, which is disturbing. But I wasn't aware of this information until recently. And even in my video where I did speak about her not probably being aware that he was this type of man, that was in reference to when she first met him, not when he had her wearing Ruby Rose's t-shirt. I don't know if you guys remember that. I'm going to try to put like a little picture, but DDG had Ruby Rose t-shirt on Halle Bailey. And then even after all of that, Ruby still defended Halle by saying, I like Halle. DDG's a weirdo though. So I was defending her from jump. And as I would both of these women, because they both were abused by the same man. Now, this person that made a counter video about my video, I didn't really take it personal at first, because we're allowed to disagree. We can disagree and still like one another. And that's what I love about the Exotica community, is that I watch so many different channels, and I might not agree with everything everyone says, but I respect their opinion to say it. And I agree with other things that they say. So I'm the type of person, if I respect your opinion and you say something I don't like, I'm not going to withdraw my support from you and act like I never knew you. I'm just going to say, all right, I don't fuck with that. For me to withdraw support from someone, they have to cross a core boundary that I wouldn't let anybody cross. You could be my mother and do this, and I would never speak to you again. That's just my personal moral. So what I do want to say is, when it comes to the situation, I feel like whether you identify with Ruby and you were a woman who tried to warn another woman about a man and he still, she still got with him, terrible. Or maybe you were the naive girl. You got with a guy, didn't really know what you were doing. People feel like you should be mature for your age. You should know better, but you genuinely didn't. And you thought that you were fighting for someone that you loved. You didn't want to listen to people. Oh, because it's funny, when she first got with him, people were saying, oh, you guys are old and bitter. DDG's a great guy. Let her be happy with him. She's not any better than him. They're on the same level. To where even people that tried to warn her felt like, wait, am I projecting? Am I an old, bitter, fat, ugly, big back girl that's hating on Halle Bailey? So, yeah, I did think it was really weird. But I'm going to pull up some of the things that I said in my last video and of this other person who twisted my words a bit and made it seem like I would condone a woman dating a known abuser. You know what's funny? A lot of the stuff I talk about on my YouTube channel can be left up for debate. It's one of those things where it's really ambiguous, it's very subjective, and nobody's 100% right or wrong, because we all have our own experiences, which matter and come into consideration when we're coming up with these ideas and these narratives, right? But certain things are not up for debate. And my solidarity for standing with victims will never be up for debate, including people who disagree with me. If you consider yourself a victim of DV, I stand with you, whether you like me or not. Right? That's what being a girl's girl is. Being a girl's girl isn't enabling or handicapping or instigating someone else's bad behavior. It's showing up for people even when it's not convenient. It's showing empathy even when you could have said, I told you so. That's just my personal opinion on that. Now, to avoid any further miscommunication and to avoid giving any unbiased opinions for myself, because I genuinely want to know what you guys think, I went to Chat GPT. And again, this is a robot, you guys, so they're not going to understand, for the most part, the nuances of humanity when it comes to tone and anything like that. So I pulled up our transcripts just so that I know, like, wait a minute, like, did I say something wrong here? So I put up our transcript so it can just be based on purely facts, purely analytical, no tone objective, no personal bias whatsoever. So I put it up in Chat GPT, and it says here, when it comes to our core disagreement, that my video defends Halle Bailey with empathy and a nuanced understanding of abuse dynamics, arguing that even if she made mistakes, she doesn't deserve public shaming. Whereas the other video rejects that view entirely, reframing it as enabling dysfunction and arguing that women like Halle should be held accountable for willfully ignoring red flags, not protected with the she's young excuses. Which, to a degree, I obviously agree with. Like, you're old enough to know right from wrong, even when you're a teenager. I was just saying that a lack of experience, like, a girl can be a genius and still be stupid when it comes to men. Like, that's a thing. But I digress. So it also says here, when it comes to my position and key factual claims, that Halle Bailey's background made her more vulnerable. She likely grew up sheltered with good male role models and wasn't exposed to toxic relationships. Because DDG didn't outwardly appear abusive, her lack of experience may have made it hard for her to see the signs. Just because she was warned doesn't mean that she deserves what happened. Also, abuse victims often take time to leave. Collecting evidence over time is a sign of being trapped, not complicit, which is what she was doing. Restraining orders are very hard to get, especially when a child is involved. Empathy does not equal enabling. Public reactions lack compassion and conflate holding accountability with punishment. People are harsh on her because they project or don't understand abuse, survival mechanisms, fight, flight, freeze and fawn, etc. The desire to say I told you so is not helpful or ethical. Reactive abuse and smear campaigns exist. Victims sometimes react under pressure in ways that make them look bad from the outside. That doesn't make them the abuser or negate the abuse that they're enduring. Now, we're going to switch it to her position and her key factual claims. She says here, she's young is a harmful excuse. People, particularly older women, use it as an excuse to enable bad decisions. Saying she's young encourages repeated poor choices and enables dysfunction. Some people are too obvious to excuse. Halle or women like her allegedly knew that DDG had a violent history with Ruby Rose and still chose to be with him. Again, if you guys knew about the Ruby Rose situation and him being abusive prior to Halle coming out about the abuse, let me know, because that was complete news to me. And it also says, in those cases, being young is no longer valid. Even kids know how to avoid danger, which I completely agree with. Real help is accountability, not coddling. The speaker claims that she is statistically above average and avoids dysfunction by taking personal accountability. She views empathy without criticism as dangerous because it traps women in repeated cycles, which I agree with. She also says here that other women are ops, and she repeatedly calls out women who show grace or sympathy, saying they secretly enjoy seeing other women fail, which is disturbing and I do not agree with. It also says here that she claims that these women are fat, losers, and single baby mamas projecting their dysfunction onto others. When people say things like that, it's one thing if you're holding someone accountable and you feel like, hey, right message, wrong messenger, but so what? Like, if someone has 11 kids and they're 600 pounds, obviously your opinion on reproducing and meal planning won't tick with me, but that doesn't mean everything you say is stupid. I don't know. My personal opinion on that. And by the way, I don't have any children, in case you guys didn't know that. I think that we both made some really interesting points and that neither of us were right or wrong. I do believe that enabling someone or instigating or coddling them or handicapping them or giving them too much lenience is a form of abuse. It actually is legally a form of abuse. I don't know if you guys know about like Gypsy Rose or that situation where like her mom would like baby her and basically handicapped her to where she couldn't take care of herself. And I think that's very sick, and you shouldn't do that to people. And I have experiences with people trying to do that to me. I would never do that to another human being. I'm an Aries. I like to uplift people. I like to help people find their strength. That's what I do. So that's just something where it's one thing if you disagree with something that I'm saying, but you will not pin that on me. You're not doing that. No one will do that. That's disturbing, and I don't stand for that. And disagreeing with me is one thing, but projecting that I support women dating abusers or being in serial relationships with abusers because I have empathy for them, no. Empathy does not equal enabling. They are not synonymous. Now, when it comes to the opposing narratives of both of our debates, I can just go ahead and put it in a nutshell for you guys. On one hand, this person is saying, if you didn't know an abuser, you're to blame, which I totally agree with. I'm just confused on when exactly did we know for sure that he abused her, because the news is new to me. And two, even if warned about abuse, this was my opinion, too, even if warned about abuse, abuse can still happen and the victim is never to blame. I don't 100% believe that you should never victim blame because you're always complicit in how you ended up in certain situations. But if you've never been a victim of this, it could be kind of hard for someone to understand how you didn't see the red flags or why you stayed alone. Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? I don't know. That's where you kind of lose me with certain things. I actually work in the health industry. I'm a community health worker. I help people who, whether they started this lifestyle from when they were young or they just got caught up with the wrong crowd, fell in love with the wrong person. Things happen, and I like to lead with empathy. That's where my morals will always be rooted. And that doesn't mean that I don't believe in tough love. It's just there's a time and a place for that. If you have a child and they burn their hand on the stove, even if you told them don't touch the stove, that's when you help them. You get some Neosporin. You make sure it's not a 4th-degree burn. And then afterwards you say, hey, if you do that again, then you come in with the tough love. That's just me. That's how I operate. But moving on, it says here that if you experienced stuff like this, you might project yourself onto people. And in this particular situation, I believe this person identified more with Ruby Rose, being someone who tried to warn another girl about a guy and she still dated him, which can be so just messed up. And I'm sorry that someone had to go through that. But on my hand, I'm kind of like Hallie. Like, one, I really like her. And two, I'd been in that situation where I've fallen in love with someone, and when things hit the fan, instead of just letting two people go their separate ways, this person stalks you. This person gang stalks you and has people, trying to like attack you. Or at least like diminish your character and stuff like that, smear campaigns and stuff like that, dog whistling, saying little things where only you know how fucked up that is. I've experienced that. And I'm going to have empathy for other people that do. Now, will I, you know, coddle them into making the same mistakes? Fuck no. Come on, get real. But if I ever came off like that, I want all women to know right now, if you're still watching this video, I know it's a little dramatic, that you deserve better. You deserve empathy, but you also deserve to have the discipline to not put yourself in these situations. You deserve to switch. Whoever allowed you to be with a person like that, you need to switch up your friend group. I don't know what you got to do, but the older you get, the more you realize, and the more people you have in your life that put you onto certain things, it's easier to call out these things. And for Halle Bailey, for Ruby Rose, for this person, for me, for every other woman who's been in this situation, or young women who are trying to avoid this, that's why I'm making this video. That's why I'm speaking from my heart and not just giving you guys, the news that I saw on TMZ today. That's why I'm making this video for all of us. And the part that really hurts me is, regardless of which one of these women you identify with, they are both victims of abuse by the same man. And I've mentioned this on my channel so many times, and it really feels like a dagger to the chest every time I have to repeat it. There's only one man in the world right now that's sticking up for Halle Bailey, and it's Soulja Boy. Shout out to him. Shout out to him. But it's Soulja Boy. Every other man in the world right now is either quiet until they get the rest of the facts, which I understand if you're a logical person, or they're automatically defending him. And sometimes being silent is worse than anything. There are two types of bad people in the world: people that do bad things and people that see bad things being done and don't say anything about it. Being silent sometimes is complicit, but I understand someone wanting to wait until they have all the facts to make their opinion. But every man in the world right now, including, his family and the women in that family too, is sticking up for this man. And if not sticking up for him, they're over-analyzing Halle's wrongs, then trying to figure out how we didn't realize this nigga was a monster this whole time, and holding these people accountable and creating systems and solutions to get women out of these situations. So That's the part that really hurts me. And I've mentioned this before, that like in a scenario where two guys are sleeping with one girl, they high five. Let two girls sleep with one guy. They beef until the end of time. And I'm still a girl's girl. There's nothing a woman can do to me to make me not be a girl's girl. Because at the end of the day, girl, we in the same boat. Your struggle is my struggle, whether we agree on the same things or not. And I really envy men and the solidarity they have with one another to stay on code and not degrade one another. Men might disagree on things. Men might, have different political views and stuff like that. But when it comes to women, they're on code and they all believe the same thing. Maybe at different degrees. All men are not the same. But there's a core belief system in how they view women and how they believe women should maneuver and operate. And they all stay on code to that. And they never belittle each other for a woman. Women do that, though. So, yeah. I'm sorry this video wasn't super cheery. And, yeah, it is what it is. Thank you guys so much, and have a beautiful day.
That's what I gotta do. That's just the way I be.
Clap back or sit back. I always have to choose clap back. I'm sorry. I'm a very kind person. But if somebody pokes at me or the people that I love, it's over for you. I'm an Aries. Sorry. Never have I ever started drama with my boyfriend for no reason.
Put it down.
I've, you know. I'm territorial. I'm a jealous girlfriend. I'm a territorial girlfriend. Where you go, who are you with? That's me. I am nosy, number one. And number two,